Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm happy that you're here. Grace produces freedom, not permission for you to sin. Some people say that grace means anything goes. Oh, I sinned yesterday, God will forgive me today. Or grace give me power, or grace give me permission to go and do whatever I want because God is a forgiving God and He'll forgive me. But what you got to understand is that Jesus grace gave power, not permission to live a life that one day you're in, one day you are, one day you have your foot in, the next day you have your foot out. You have to live differently. Paul confronted this question. Should we continue to sin so that grace may be bound? By no means. And you find that in Romans 6, verse 1 and 2. So Paul here is saying, he's asking the question to the people, should we continue to sin because of grace? No. Grace is more than a forgiveness. So see, when we look at grace, we look at grace as, oh, God forgive us. And that gives us the power to live free. But what that means is that you need to die with Christ to your old self and being raised as a new creature, as a new life. That means that you give everything in your life to live for Christ. Listen, let me tell you something, and this is my own experience. When I gave my life to Christ, I was doing all kind of crazy things. And we don't need to glorify that. It was simply crazy. And I found God. And when I say I found God, listen, I used to go to church for a long time. And I thought I had a relationship with God, but it wasn't into this encounter that I had with God that I finally realized what a true relationship with God is. It's not going to church on Sundays. It's not have these rituals and do all these things. It's actually a relationship with God where I talk to Him, where He talks to me, where I seek Him constantly. And what happened was that transformed everything in me. I had to leave things behind. I had to live my life of sinful nature, wild sex, drinking, partying, doing all these things to submit myself to Christ completely. And let me tell you something, that was my best decision I ever made. I was raised as a new creature. I was raised with a new life. I was born again. And what I think about is, in this case, is like I was prisoner in a prison of bondage, sin, and I refused to give those things up until I found Christ. And let me tell you something, for years, I felt the Spirit of the Lord talking to me. I found myself hanging with people, being in places that I shouldn't have been. And I felt this tuggle in my heart to like go home, or you shouldn't be here, or this is not you. And I feel all these things inside of me. And for 2 years, I was having a spiritual battle, and I didn't understand why. But what I understood, that the Spirit of the Lord was calling me. The Spirit of the Lord was talking on me to return back to Him. And it took me a while to realize. And I was refusing to walk out of that cell that I was living in. And it gives me this illustration of a person that is in in bondage in a cell, in a jail cell, and those doors open. What person will not walk out of those doors? What person will stay inside? And I understand that we have a particular story in the Bible where Paul, the door of the jail open, and he staying there. That's a whole different story. But because God indicated him to stay, but we must choose to step out. We must choose to step out of those bondages. We must choose to step out of, step out of that thing that is keeping you trapped, that thing that is keeping you depressed, that thing that is keeping you not wanting to progress, not wanting to keep moving forward, and it's keeping you in this darkness, and you don't know how to come out. And the only way you can come out of those things is by the blood of Jesus Christ and by Jesus, in Jesus alone. And you say, oh, there's many ways. No, there's only one way. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. Grace do not excuse sin. And I feel like a lot of people use that as a magic wand to say, oh, the grace of God is sufficient. The grace of God, he'll forgive me. And you use that as an excuse. And we don't have no excuse for sin. We don't have excuse or permission. We use grace as a permission to continuously sin. Grace is freedom. And when you walk in the freedom of God, you don't walk in that bondage. When you walk in the freedom of God, you don't walk in that sin anymore. Jesus gave us that gift for us to move in obedience and love, not to keep returning to that prison, not to keep returning to those things from the past. And sometimes we want to run back to that past. Sometimes we want to take a peek back and look at what we left behind. And what happened is you're going to turn into a statue of salt because we keep looking behind at things that we don't have no business looking. I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to identify those areas where you abuse grace as a permission rather as a power, and ask God for strength to walk in freedom. And the only way we're going to get that freedom is through Jesus Christ. I'm going to repeat that again and again and again. Is through Jesus Christ. You want to be free? You want to walk in peace? You want to walk in the light? You want to walk like a man or a woman that is happy and joyful because, there's so many people out there, and with the things that are going on around this world and around society and everything that is going on with what we see on the news, we need Jesus more than ever. God, let your grace make us new, not just for forgiveness, but make all things new. And if you need for God to make something new in your life, to change things in your life, to turn things around for his good, type in the comments, give me grace to walk in freedom. Give me grace to walk in freedom.